I'm going to start off with Valneva, the vaccine manufacturer, the vaccine. So that was supposed to be, if you remember, manufactured in Scotland. But the contract to manufacture that COVID-19 vaccine was dropped by the British government. Well, it turns out that didn't mean that we were, or at least Britain's, was off the hook with respect to payment. So Valneva has published or has sent a filing into the Securities and Exchange Commission in the United States. This is it, U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, Form 20F. This is the annual report pursuant to Section 13 or 15D of the Securities Exchange Act of 1934. And so we'll just take a quick quote from this. It says, under the header Vaccine Supply Agreement with the UK Authority, the UK Supply Agreement required the UK Authority to pay a non-refundable advance payment to fund certain manufacturing-related expenses over the life of the project. And as of December 31st, 2021, Valneva had received an aggregate of £369.7 million under the UK supply agreement. Valneva received no additional funds from the UK authority in 2022. So just very briefly, Debbie wanted to get your thoughts on this because still many questions to be asked over the funding of the so-called vaccination program for COVID-19, particularly if you think back right to the very beginning, whenever the government was guaranteeing money to AstraZeneca, despite the fact that there had been no safety data provided for AstraZeneca. Nobody actually knew whether it was going to get any form of approval, or at least publicly, nobody knew that whether it was going to get any form of approval at that time. And we were asking at the time whether there'd been some kind of backdoor deal done to guarantee that approval would be given, or whether they were going to pay the money to AstraZeneca, whether approval was given or not. In this case, we seem to be getting the clue that the money was going to be paid anyway, because that certainly seems to have been what happened here. So whether or not the so-called vaccine was produced, Valneva was still getting the money.
Yeah, it's absolutely shocking. I mean, that's what nearly $250 million that the UK has lost. And I think it's worth noting too that Valneva are a smaller company, but they were repurposed for Livingstone. But what I've heard through the grapevine is that they're actually thinking of repurposing. That factory is very expensive. It's cost a lot of money to set up. And they're talking about repurposing and using it to produce chikungunya virus vaccines and Japanese encephalitis. Both of those involve animals and mosquitoes. So I think there's far more to come on this. But I mean, it's obscene, Mike, obscene.